The Walking Dead series by Telltale Games was originally inspired from the Walking Dead comics. Even though this franchise wasn't as it is as the comics or the TV series, yet a lot of people believe it to be better than both comics and the TV show because of its unpredictable plot, which is full of twists which are really sudden and unexpected. It is considered as one of the best decision-making games, otherwise also known as choices-based games, in which the player has got the power to manipulate and change the plot with their decisions. These kind of games are the only ones where the player gets this much freedom to influence the plot. Even more freedom than RPG games, I must say. So-called real gamers and tryhards call them movie games and claim them to be bad just because they are story based. But it's worthless to explain to blockheads like them that how great these kind of games actually are. So these games may not be that much gameplay based, but they indeed are respected by the gaming community, and The Walking Dead is one such game. The season 1 of this franchise was released in 2012, which makes it almost 14 years old now. The game starts with Lee Everett as the main character, who was charged with murder and was heading to prison in the opening of the game, but the van's driver fucked up and met with an accident which deeply injured his leg. He then later was attacked by the driver, which had already turned into a zombie, which are called walkers in the game. Luckily he managed to deal with that, but unfortunately an entire horde of walkers was heading right towards him. He quickly ran towards the nearest house, which was about to change his life forever, because it was Clementine's house. Clementine's parents went to Savannah before the starting of the apocalypse. They left Clem with a babysitter who was killed by Lee because she had already turned. Through the voicemail, Lee found out that Clem's parents are never gonna return and that Clem is his responsibility now. They decided to leave the house immediately and eventually came across Sean, who agreed to take both Lee and Clem to Herschel's farm, where Lee acquainted with Kenny, his wife Katja, and his son Duck. But an unfortunate turn of events occurred and the walkers attacked the farm. Herschel's son Sean died in the attack, which made Herschel furious as hell, and he kicked out the entire group on the spot. The group then decided to leave and roamed for a while, but unfortunately they managed to attract some walkers. It was when they got really lucky and got saved by Glenn and Carly. Carly and Glenn made them take shelter in a pharmaceutical store, and coincidentally the store was owned by Lee's family, who either turned or died. Inside the drugstore they met Lily and her crazy dad Larry, who weren't seemed to welcome the group. Larry even claimed that Duck was bitten, which wasn't truly the case. While all of them were quarreling, the walkers found a way to barge into the store, but Lee and Carly handled the situation. But soon after that, Larry had a heart attack and collapsed. Lily requested Lee to find the nitroglycerin pills for Larry and he agreed to help her. While Lee was searching the store for the keys to the medical counter, Carly decided to confront him in private and told him that she knew that Lee was a convicted killer, but she assured him by telling him that she was gonna keep this between her and Lee. Later, with the help of Doug, Lee manages to find the keys which his brother had on him, who had already been turned. Lee decided to put him out of his misery by executing him. After getting the keys, Lee and Lily rushed towards the medicinal counter and grabbed the pills for Larry. But it wasn't the time for celebration because the walkers attacked the store again. Kenny ran for preparing the truck to get out from there, while the rest decided to stay and defend. In the midst of all that, Doug got killed by the walkers. As soon as Kenny's truck was ready, everybody escaped from the store and decided to take shelter at a local motor inn. At the motor inn, Glenn told Lee that he was leaving the group because he had friends and family outside the city who need him. While everyone was trying to catch their breaths, Larry warned Lee that he knew about him being a killer and also told him to keep Clementine safe and to stay away from Lily. Later on, Mark, an ex-Air Force officer, joined their group. One day him and Lee were going into the woods for hunting because the entire group was lacking on food and the supplies. Along their way, They found two high school kids, Ben and Travis, and their professor whose leg was stuck in a bear trap. Lee tried his best to remove it but failed in doing so, hence chopping off his leg was the only option to free him from the trap. But soon enough, the place got surrounded by walkers and Travis got killed in the midst of all that. And Lee, Kenny, Mark and Ben rushed towards the motor inn with the teacher. When they got back at the inn, Lily told them that they can't have more mouths to feed when they themselves are starving. Kenny opposed her by calling her a heartless dictator. This argument continued for a while. Soon enough, they agreed to take Ben and his teacher. While Katja was trying to treat the teacher, he suddenly turned and strangled her. Lee jumped in to save her, followed by Mark and Kenny. After dealing with that, Kenny and Lily started to fight again. Ben interrupted by revealing the fact that the bite doesn't cause one to turn into walkers. Even non-bitten people will return as walkers after their death. The entire group fell into a state of shock after hearing about this fact. While all of them were lost in deep thought, two visitors by the name of Danny and Andrew came from a dairy nearby which was called St. John Dairy. They came to ask for gas and offered food supplies and shelter in return. The group agreed to cooperate with them after a lot of discussions and negotiations. Lee, Ben, Mark and Carly decided to scout the place first to make sure that it's safe for the others. The place was protected by an electric fence, so the St. John brothers guaranteed their safety. At the dairy, the group met with Danny and Andy's mother, Brenda St. John, who welcomed them wholeheartedly and agreed to help Lee and his group, after finding out that they have got a vet with them. After this, Ben and Carly left the dairy in order to get the others, and Andy asked Mark and Lee to get rid of the walkers which were stuck in the electric fence. While they were clearing the fence power suddenly got turned on and Lee and Mark quickly backed off from it. It was then when they got ambushed by the bandits, which resulted in Mark getting injured. Lee somehow managed to use a tractor as a cover and escaped from there along with Mark. When they got back, their group was there too, which was shocked after seeing Mark like that. Lee furiously confronted Danny about all of that. Danny explained that they made a deal with the bandits. They give them supplies and in return, the bandits don't bother them. But Danny got angry and told Lee that it was unacceptable to try and kill his guests. Hence, Lee and Danny decided to give them a payback by attacking one of their camps. When they got there, they found out that there was no one in the camp. As they were searching that place, Lee found Clementine's hat, which was lost earlier. Lee was shocked when suddenly a strange woman showed up and threatened to kill both of them. Lee and Danny couldn't make sense of anything which she was saying until she started to accuse Danny for ruining her life. Danny became uneasy and encouraged Lee to shoot her. Now here, either you can shoot her, or if you don't want to, then Danny will do it, which will make player highly suspicious of Danny and the St. Johns. As soon as both of them returned back, Lee decided to check on Clementine. Brenda told him that she is in the barn with Andy and Kenny's family. In the barn, Kenny told Lee about a mysterious back door which was present in the barn. It surprisingly had a lot of locks on it, which Kenny found to be very strange and suspicious, but he became even more curious when Andy told him to stay away from it. Lee decided to mess with the generator in order to distract Andy. Then with the help of a multi-tool, he opened the door and froze in his boots after seeing what was inside there. There was a literal slaughterhouse there. Andy caught him red-handed and told him that it was only for obtaining animal meat. But Lee refused to believe him and decided to check out what was happening in the house. So he went for the dinner which Brenda prepared for the entire group. Lee made a false excuse of washing hands and started to snoop around the entire house. He found a bookshelf upstairs behind which noises and groaning of a man could be heard. Lee quickly started to investigate it, and as soon as he discovered a secret room behind the bookshelf, he fell into a state of shock because he saw Mark lying half dead there, who was crying for help. Lee rushed downstairs ASAP and told everyone to stop eating the food. The group was astonished and asked him that what was the problem. Lee revealed that Brenda and her sons were cannibals and that he saw Mark upstairs in a terrible state. Katja believed Lee and immediately told Kenny and Duck to stop eating. They took Katja and Clementine hostage. and knocked out the whole group and locked them into a meat locker. While they were trying to figure out how to get out from there, Larry had a heart attack and collapsed on the spot. Lily immediately started to give him CPR and asked Lee and Kenny to help her out. While at the other hand, Kenny insisted that they should kill Larry, otherwise he will turn and will kill each and every one of them. Lily clung to Larry's body in order to protect him, but Lee subdued her and Kenny smashed his head with a crate. Lily fell into a state of grief and developed a strong hatred for Lee and Kenny. Lee and Kenny found that they can get out through the AC duct if they manage to remove the AC, but in order to do that, they'd first have to remove the screws. So Lee somehow managed to get some coins from Larry's corpse and was able to loosen the screws. But the duct was too small, hence they sent Clementine through there. Clem opened the door and helped everyone to escape from there. Kenny and Lee decided to go ahead first. They found out that Danny was patrolling the barn, so they decided to launch a surprise attack against him. But Danny outsmarted by detecting them first. Luckily, both of them were able to counter him and succeeded in neutralizing him. Lee told Kenny to go ahead and decided to deal with Danny by himself. Now it's up to the player to either kill Danny or spare him. After taking care of Danny, Lee went ahead and found Carly and Penn. Lee told her to deal with any surprises and went towards the house to look for the others. He heard Katja scream and quickly went in the house and found out that she was being held hostage by Brenda. Lee tried to lure her into conversing until she got killed by Mark, who was already turned into a walker. After rescuing Katja, Lee got out from the house and saw that Duck was being held hostage by Andy, but Carly saved him by shooting Andy and Lee quickly jumped on him. A brutal fight broke out between Andy and Lee. It turned out that Lee was a better brawler than Andy, hence he succeeded in pulverizing Andy, but Andy got up and demanded a fair fight from Lee. Now it's up to the player to either let Lee kill him or to leave Andy for the walkers. The group's condition only gets worse from here. When they were on their way ahead, they found an SUV which was full of supplies like food, water, medicines, etc. Now it's up to the player whether to take stuff from it or not. Honestly, it doesn't really matter because the outcome is gonna be the same. Okay, so after taking supplies from the mysterious SUV, the group decided to take shelter at a nearby motel. The next day, Kenny and Lee decided to go back to the drugstore for taking the remaining supplies which were present there. They got attacked by the walkers while they were collecting supplies, but luckily they managed to return safely to the motel. When they got back, Lily inquired about the supplies. They answered that they couldn't get much stuff because of the walkers. Since Lily was already holding a grudge against Lee and Kenny because they killed her father, she got pissed at them for not bringing much supplies. Soon the argument went from supplies to a debate about whether to stay at the motel or to leave the place as soon as possible. The fight somehow was diffused and Kenny and Lee decided to leave Lily alone for a while. After some time, Lee talked with Carly and shared about his feelings which he had for her. Carly accepted them and advised Lee to tell everyone about his past, because not only that will help him in making his heart lighter, but it will also get him acceptance from the group. Lee listened to her advice and told everyone about his past. Luckily, everybody accepted him and agreed to trust him. After a while, Lily called Lee in her room privately and told him that she suspected that there was a traitor among them who was selling their supplies to the bandits. She further clarified her claim by showing Lee a broken emergency flashlight. Lee immediately started to investigate about it by asking about the flashlight to the entire group. All the members said that they don't know anything about the flashlight. While Lee was investigating, he came across some broken glass which belonged to the flashlight along with a big X mark which was made on the wall near which he found the pieces of glass. He also noticed that it was made with pink chalk. So he went to Clementine and asked her if he had some pink chalk. Clem replied that her pink chalk had been gone missing, which made Lee even more curious. When Lee thought that he had hit a wall, Doug told him that he found a piece of pink chalk in front of the motel's entrance. Lee thanked him and started to investigate the outskirts of the motel. On investigating, he found that there were supplies hidden there. which shocked him. He quickly rushed in Lily's room and told her about the hidden supplies. Lily said to him that they should line up everyone and should have a proper inquiry about this. As they were figuring out their next step, the local bandits attacked the motel and took everyone outside hostage. The bandits said that they made a deal with the group, but the group didn't fulfill it. Lee came out from the room and started to distract the bandits by luring them into talking, while Lily took her position and started shooting at them. A gunfight began at the motel between the bandits and the group. The gunshots ended up attracting walkers, which became a huge problem for both sides. In the midst of all this, Katja and Doug got strangled by a walker, but Lee succeeded in saving them, while Kenny prepared the RV for escaping from the motel. Dusk came in as the group continued to travel in the RV. Lily still insisted about identifying the traitor, in response to which Carly told her to let it go. Then suddenly Lily got more suspicious of Ben and Carly. She started to claim that either Ben or Carly had been giving the group's supplies to the bandits. Ben got scared and insisted that he didn't do it, while Carly defended him. As this drama was going on, a walker got stuck in the RV's front wheels, hence Kenny had to stop the RV. Lily decided to use this time for having a little chat with Carly and Ben. The fight became even worse. Lily continued to accuse both Carly and Ben. Ben yelled that he'd do anything in order to prove that he's innocent. Shortly after that, Kenny finished dealing with that walker, while Carly called Lily a bitch and called her a scared little girl. Then Lily drew her gun and shot Carly dead. Everyone froze in their boots after witnessing this incident. Lee immediately strangled her and decided that they won't take Lily with them anymore. Hence, they left her in the middle of the road and proceeded further. The entire group was in a state of despair after that tragedy. Meanwhile, Katja and Kenny called Lee in private and revealed to him that their kid, Duck, was bitten. Apparently, he got bit when one of the walkers strangled him and Katja back at the motel. Lee got shocked after hearing this. Kenny said that they are going to look after Duck as they will continue their journey. He also said that Duck may not turn if they take enough care of him. Lee agreed and went back to Clementine. After a while later, at dawn, they had to stop because there was an abandoned train in their path. The group decided to stop there because there was no way around that train. Lee and Ben decided to check out the train. They found a map in one of the compartments. The map had information on all the routes which the train was supposed to take, and luckily its final destination was Savannah, where Kenny could get a boat and also where Clementine's parents could be found. After taking the map, Ben, Kenny and Lee decided to check out the engine compartment to see if the train was still working or not. It turned out that it was still working, but they didn't know how to start the engine. So Lee found a notepad in which the instructions to start the train's engine could be present. But the page which contained those instructions had been torn off. Only markings which weren't visible to the naked eye were present. So Lee borrowed a pencil from Clementine and shaded on that page, after which the instructions were clearly visible. They succeeded in starting the train, but the train was attached to a compartment which was already wrecked. Lee succeeded in freeing the train with the help of some tools which were present in the engine compartment. While Lee was on his way to gather everyone up for boarding the train, he met with Charles, who was also known as Chuck. Chuck told Lee that he had already been acquainted with the rest of his group, except him, and he even joked about how they were stealing his home from him. Lee found him a little bit annoying, but he agreed to have him as one of them. Meanwhile, Duck's condition was getting worse. Lee questioned Kenny that if the boat and the train are really good ideas, considering Duck's condition, but Kenny refused and insisted on sticking with the plan. Hence, the group boarded the train and left for Savannah. Duck's condition kept worsening in the midst of their journey. Katja requested Lee to ask Kenny to stop train, but Kenny, with everything going on, was not in a very good mood. So it was hard for Lee to get him to stop the train. Both of his parents accepted the bitter truth that Duck won't make it. So they started to debate that who will put him down. Katja insisted that she should do it, so she went in the woods to do it. Soon after, they heard a gunshot and both Lee and Kenny rushed towards the woods where Katja went. They found that Katja had shot herself and Duck was still alive, barely breathing. After witnessing this traumatizing incident, Kenny was hopeless and fell into an existential void. Hence, Lee chose to put an end to Duck's misery. The group soon got aware about this incident and the cloud of hopelessness emerged above them. Lee decided to have a word with Clementine regarding this. Clem told him that Chuck said to her that she is going to end up dead. Lee furiously decided to confront Chuck about this. Chuck told him that Clementine should learn to protect herself and should also trim her hair so that she won't be grabbed by anyone easily. Lee agreed with this and immediately taught her to shoot a gun and also trimmed her hair. After this, Clementine requested Lee if he could help her in finding her parents after they have reached Savannah. Lee agreed and asked her if she had any idea about that where her parents might be. Clem replied that they frequently visited Savannah a lot of times in past and they had always stayed at the hotel by the name of the Marsh House. Hence, Lee and Clementine decided to go to the Marsh House after reaching Savannah. A few moments later, Kenny had to stop the train because a truck equipped with an oil tank was hanging straight down from a bridge, with its upper half being stuck on the bridge. While the group left the train to see what could be done to get past the oil tank, two strangers by the name of Omid and Krista called out the group to make sure if they were dangerous or not. Lee decided to have a word with them so that they could come to an agreement about cooperating for getting rid of the oil tank. Omid and Krista agreed and the work to remove the tanker from train's way began. Lee and Clementine succeeded in obtaining a blowtorch from the nearby train station. While Omid and Lee were working on clearing the path, a huge horde of walkers was coming directly towards them. Krista told everyone to quickly get inside the train and Omid succeeded in getting rid of the tanker. The tanker got leaked, so Lee decided to start a fire in order to keep the walkers away for a bit. And soon enough, Lee, Krista and Omid succeeded in boarding the train, but Omid gravely injured his leg in the process. After a while, Clementine's walkie-talkie, which was with Lee for the moment and which was also believed to be broken, suddenly turned on with a stranger on the line, who claimed to have her parents with him and who surprisingly knew about almost everything about the group. Lee and Kenny got shocked after hearing that and decided to not give walkie-talkie in Clementine's hands for a while. The group arrived at Savannah after traveling for a while. The streets were really calm and quiet, which was way beyond unusual. Nobody lived in those houses anymore. Meanwhile, Clem requested Lee to let her at least hold the walkie-talkie, but Lee politely refused. As our group was figuring out the correct path, the church bell suddenly rang, which was very strange because the whole place was abandoned. Then Lee suddenly noticed a strange figure above the bell tower. Before Lee could explain himself to the group, the stranger on the walkie-talkie contacted them again and reminded them that being in streets was a bad idea. Lee and the group didn't had a moment to make sense of everything. Walkers started to surround them due to the bell's noise. The group tried to get out of there while being clueless about where to escape. They got separated from Chuck during the chaos. Chuck told them that he would catch up with them later and our group ended up at an abandoned mansion which seemed sturdy to them, but all of its doors and windows were barricaded except for the pet door, which was locked too. It was an automatic door which would only open if the pet with its collar came near it. Lee found out that there was a doghouse which had a small grave near it, so he decided to dug it up in order to obtain the collar. After getting the collar and with the help of Clem, the group succeeded in entering the mansion. Krista was angry at Lee because he didn't told her that the walkie-talkie still worked. Lee said that he too found about it yesterday only. Meanwhile, Omid's condition got worse, so Krista insisted on not leaving until he gets better. But Kenny said that they should leave as quick as possible, or else the walkers will fill the whole city. Lee and Krista somehow convinced Kenny to stay and rest at the mansion for a while. After searching the whole place up, Lee found out that Kenny found a child up in the attic who seemed to have died due to starvation and came back as a really weak walker. Kenny got really upset after seeing him because he looked a lot like his son Tuck. Hence, they decided to end his suffering and buried him with his pet dog in the yard. As soon as Lee finished with it, a mysterious figure appeared in front of him again. He called him out, but the figure ran away. The group rushed to the yard to see what was wrong. Lee told him that someone was following them all this time, so Kenny decided to ready the boat and to leave the place as soon as possible. Hence, both Lee and Kenny started to head for the docks in order to see if any boat was working or not. After reaching there, Lee found a gruesome wall which was made from dead and alive walkers. But he chose to ignore it and decided to use one of the binoculars to scout ahead. He found a strange person who was climbing and jumping from one building to another with the help of a strange tool. Lee quickly called Kenny and told him about this strange person. But soon enough, that stranger jumped down right in front of them and started to loot the nearby shop. Lee and Kenny made a plan about taking the stranger down quietly. But they failed because the stranger was quite skilled in fighting, and they knocked Lee down, but they decided to not fight anymore because Clementine showed up from behind. The stranger removed her mask and said to them that they are not from Crawford. Lee asked her that what is Crawford. Molly answered that Crawford is a place which solely believes in survival of the fittest. They don't allow anyone with any kind of disability, old and weak people including children, to live because those people will only slow them down. Lee then asked her that who was ringing the bells all over the place. Molly replied that it was her. Kenny got furious after hearing this. He said that their group was on the verge of death because of the walkers which got attracted by those bells. Molly argued that it was the only way for her to be safe from the walkers. While Kenny and Molly were arguing, a horde of walkers suddenly appeared from around the corner. Molly was about to leave them behind, but she agreed to help after seeing Clementine's sad face. She decided to help everyone out, but it was too late for Lee. So she lended him her climbing tool and Lee opened the manhole with the help of it and escaped into the sewers. While Lee was trying to find a way out, he came across Chuck's dead body and paid his respects to him. Upon proceeding further, he found a secret passage in the sewers which led to a fallout shelter. The shelter contained a lot of supplies. Lee was surprised to see a place like that. He came across a small group of people who didn't trusted him first in the slightest. They suspected that Lee was from Crawford. Lee managed to assure them that he was trying to survive just like them and that he was not from Crawford. The man, whose name was Vernon, lowered his gun and decided to trust Lee. Vernon told Lee that he's a doctor of a cancer survivor group and Crawford took all of their medical supplies which were needed to take care of the patients. Lee responded that his group too has got an injured person and that he has a little girl too to look after too. Vernon agreed to go with Lee despite being told not to by his friend Bree. After reaching the mansion, Vernon started to treat Omid accompanied by Krista, while Lee found out that Clementine was nowhere to be found. After searching the whole house, he went in the yard and found out that Clem was in the shed which had a boat in it. Lee and Kenny suddenly cheered up because they were told by Molly that there were no working boats in the whole savannah. But Kenny found out that the boat can work only if it had fuel and batteries, while Vernon also revealed that Omid won't survive if they don't give him any antibiotics. So the group decided to prepare for an operation to sneak into Crawford and to steal the required supplies from there. Clem decided to accompany Lee in this heist too. After reaching Crawford, the group found out that everyone in the Crawford had turned into walkers, which actually made their operation easy because it's easier to deal with dumb walkers than smart guards. The group made a classroom of an abandoned school there, Rendezvous Point. Lee and Molly decided to head for the battery and Krista and Vernon decided to head for the medicines, while Clementine and Ben decided to stay in the classroom to work on making the escape route accessible. After obtaining the battery from the auto shop, Molly took off to run an errand with the battery. She promised Lee that she will be back and Lee proceeded further on. He found out that Krista and Vernon were trapped inside the infirmary by a group of walkers. Lee cleared them out and went inside the infirmary. He found out that the medical supplies were inside a safe whose 4-digit code was unknown to them. Lee found some tapes on searching the whole place, which showed them that what kind of a hell Crawford actually was. But they managed to obtain the 4-digit code and succeeded in getting the medicine. Molly too shortly returned with the battery, but because of Ben's carelessness, the walkers barged into the school and were all over the place. The group got cornered into the classroom. Meanwhile, Ben decided to tell Kenny in this chaotic situation that it was him who was giving bandits the supplies, and that Katja and Duck were dead because of him. Kenny became furious and was ready to kill Ben on the spot. He decided that Ben won't come on the boat with him. Bree got distracted while this was happening and hence got killed by the walkers. Since Bree was dead, the entrance was unguarded, but the door was open and they decided to escape via the top floor of the school. They had to fight a lot of walkers on their way up. From there, they succeeded in escaping safely to the mansion. At the mansion, Vernon decided to have a word with Lee. Vernon told him that Clementine and the whole group is unsafe with Lee as their leader. He gave Lee an offer that he can take care of Clem instead of Lee. His place and his people are well equipped with supplies and some of them have got a decent experience about taking care of children. But Lee, without a second thought, turned down his offer. After dealing with him, Lee came across Molly, who was about to leave the group. Lee bid her farewell and went ahead to talk with Clem. Clem asked Lee if her parents were still alive or not. Lee answered that he was not sure, which made Clem even more sadder. She went to sleep as she sobbed, and in the same room, Lee took a nap on a couch. After waking up, he found out that Clem had disappeared again. He went out of the mansion as he continued to search for her. There he noticed some disturbances in the nearby area. He found out that it was a walker, so he dealt with it. But the walker bit him and he got infected. The rest of the group rushed towards Lee. Lee revealed the bite to them, but instead of panicking, the group decided that they will help him in finding Clem and that they got Lee's back. Lee felt a bit relieved after hearing this. He suspected Vernon to be the culprit because he talked about taking Clem from Lee. Hence, the group decided to go to his place and take Clem from him. Lee's condition kept getting worse, but they somehow managed to get there. After reaching there, they found out that the place was picked clean. Then suddenly, the same stranger who had abducted Clem contacted Lee and told him that he didn't kidnap her, in fact, he rescued her. Before Lee could ask anything, the stranger got disconnected. Lee fainted due to the fever from the bite. Krista and Kenny decided to amputate his arm in order to slow down the infection. Lee agreed to it because he thought that it may buy him some time. Lee fainted again after the amputation due to blood loss, but he regained consciousness after a while. But the place was already surrounded by the walkers, so they had to act fast. Through the elevator shaft, they succeeded in making to the top, but the streets were full of walkers. But luckily the bell tower was nearby, hence they succeeded in clearing the path and managed to fall back to the mansion safely. They found that their boat was gone. It was later found out that Vernon and his group stole it, which really pissed Kenny. But since their primary goal was to rescue Clem, he let it go. The mansion got surrounded by walkers, and soon enough the group had to hide in the attic. Just when they thought that there was no getting out from there, it was found out that one of the attic walls was weak and breakable, and so the group started to barge through it by taking turns. It led them to a house which was just besides the mansion. One by one they started to jump to the other roof, but Ben fell into an alley on his back and a pole pierced right through his back. Kenny immediately jumped down to save him, followed by Lee. But it was impossible to save him because the pole had gone really deep in his body, plus the walkers were already starting to surround them. Kenny forced Lee to get out from there and decided to take them all on his own. Lee assumed that he was dead. Hence he requested Krista and Omi to look after Clementine. As they were getting more closer to the marsh house, they found out that the streets were full of walkers. So Lee decided to head down first and promised Omid and Krista that he will meet them outside Savannah with Clem. He pushed his way through the horde of walkers and managed to reach the hotel. The strange man who took Clem was there too. He told Lee to get rid of his weapons and decided to have a word with him. He revealed that the SUV from which Lee's group took supplies from was his, and that his wife and his daughter left him, and when he found them, they were already dead. He blamed Lee for that and told him that he didn't took proper care of Clementine and that he is going to adopt Clem after he had taken his revenge from Lee. Clem sneaked up on him from behind and performed an attack on him which staggered him. Hence Lee got a chance to land a blow on him and he succeeded in killing him. After dealing with him, Lee found out that the walkers won't attack a person if they are covered in walker blood. So he covered Clem in it and immediately left with Clem in order to get out from Savannah. On their way, Clem saw her parents which were already turned into walkers. While this was happening, Lee collapsed there because the infection from the bite was getting worse and worse. But luckily Clem managed to fall back to a nearest shelter. Lee realized that it was his time, so he told Clementine to find Omid and Krista and to keep her hair short. And Clem made sure that Lee don't turn by shooting him. But this was only the beginning of Clementine's journey.